Welcome back to 16 Weeks of SAT. This week is week 8 and it's all about short division. Now, short division should be something that you're all relatively familiar with in terms of the strategy and what we normally call it, which is the bus stop method. That really straightforward situation where we write the number that we're dividing into and the number that we're dividing by. So essentially that's what this week's going to cover. We're going to look at exactly what short division is and how we go through the different variations of it when we encounter slight problems. For example, when we maybe divide into that first number and that isn't possible. So how do we navigate that to make sure that the question is answered correctly? Now, one of the things to think about with short division, as in some of the previous videos, especially with known facts, is not every division question that you're going to encounter in the SATs paper requires you to do a short division. Some of those questions you will be able to see contain known facts. So for example, you may have a question just off the top of my head of something like 630 divided by 7. Now, there's no reason to do a short division bus stop. Some of you will because you'll go into autopilot, but what we've got to see in 630 divided by 7 is 63 and 7. So 63 is in the 7 times table, 7 times 9 is 63. So 630 divided by 7 is going to be 90. So we can use our times tables facts quite a lot, and those questions come up a lot. We can use those known facts to help us answer a lot of the questions that are in there. Once we start to get into problems that can't be solved that way, then we need to drop into a short division and a bus stop method. Now again, as ever, all these strategies, including the bus stop method, are covered in SATs Like a Ninja, which takes you through step-by-step approaches on how to solve that. But if you're more than happy with following these videos, which I know a lot of you are, then let's get stuck straight into it and look at how short division and the bus stop method can help us mop up those easy marks in the Key Stage 2 SATs papers. So let's have a little bit of a look at short division. Now, I think for most of you, the chances are the short division problems will be something that you're fairly comfortable with. So this might be a bit of a recap week. If not, this is all just about how we lay out these division style questions. Now, with the majority of these questions, normally we can do quite a lot of them in our head. So for example, if we had 2,400 divided by 6, what that question is prompting us to do is to just work within our known facts of 24 divided by 6 is 4. So the answer must be 400 because it's 100 times bigger in the question. So these ones, though, maybe need us to produce a bit of a more written strategy, which is short division, or also known as the bus stop method. So again, we're going to look at these. So just to get things right, we've got two numbers to begin with. So the number that is being divided, so in this case 96, is called the dividend. And we have this number that we are dividing by, which is known as the divisor. And the answer is known as the quotient. So those are there. So we've got the dividend, the divisor, and the quotient. Now, obviously, they can move around in position, but for the sake of the bus stop method or for short division, we're just going to look at how we lay these out. So the divisor, if we just have a look, is going to be presented here. Just going to remove that, get my pen ready. So it's going to go here. And the number that we are dividing, the dividend, is going to go inside the bus stop. Okay, so divided by 96. So again, it comes back to presentation and things being very neat. And all that's going to happen here is we're going to divide this number into each number independently. And the result of those divisions is going to be placed above. So essentially, we're going to be trying to work out how many 4s that we get in 9, how many 4s that we get in 6. And there are some complications, like if we were trying to do 4 into 3, well, that wouldn't go. Okay, so there isn't 4 as a whole number in 3 of a whole number. So we'd have to cancel that and carry and then do 4 into 36. But we'll come on to some of those examples. So to start with, these straightforward ones are where we do 4 into 9. So just visually to sort of try and show that, if we had, essentially this is saying how many groups of 4, how many lots of 4 in 9 ones. So if we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, just to show it, then we've got one group of 4, we've got 2 groups of 4, all right? And there's 1 remaining, all right? Because essentially we've got 4, we'll write it out, 4 and 8, and this one makes 9. So that's nice. So essentially what would happen here is we would do 4 into 9 is 2, which we know. So we would write that above. And the one that's remaining gets carried into the next column. So now we're going to do 4 into 16. All right. And 4 into 16, we know is our part of our 4 times table is 4. So that's nice and whole. And that basically gives us our answer. There's nothing else to do there. There's nothing else remaining. We'll cover remainders shortly. But essentially our answer would be 24. If we had a SATS blue box over to the side, we would be making sure that that answer got transferred into there. And that would give us the mark. Now in this example, the numbers that we're working with are slightly larger. You can see we've got 4 as the divisor and the dividend is 928. So there's going to be more steps to this problem. So let's have a look at it. So again, laying it out effectively is important. So we're dividing by 4 and then we're dividing into 928. Very, very simple. And again, we're going to do 4 into 9, 4 into 2 and 4 into 8. Okay. So let's see how that works out. So the first part is 4 into 9, which actually we did in the last problem. So that helps us. So how many 4s are in 9? If we think about our times table, we've got 4, 8, and the next one would be 12. So we're not getting another one in 9. So there's 2 lots, and there's 1 remaining, isn't there? So we showed that before. So if we have 9 ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we went, right, visually, there's 4, there's 4, and there's 1 remaining. So that is what this one is in here. Okay, we've got our 2 lots, this one and this one here. So we've got 2 lots of 4 in 9, and the one that remains is carried in the next column. Now, hopefully we see straight away 4 into 12 is quite a nice one for us. So 4 into 12 is 3, lovely. And then we can go into the next one. There's nothing being carried because 4 into 12 was whole. So 4 into 8 is 2, perfect, problem solved. 232. And again, if we had our SATS blue box to answer in, we'd be making sure that 232 got transferred into there to get the mark. Nice and simple. Now this one again is a good example where we're going to get some larger remainders than 1 that we need to carry, which again is fine. And for me, bus stop always comes back down to presentation because it gets quite tight on that squared paper. So again, we have 5 into 135. Notice how I'm leaving space in these sort of areas because that's where I'm potentially going to be working. So the first question, we're going to do 5 into 1, 5 into 3, 5 into 50, or 5 into 5. But again, there may be remainders. Now, here's the first problem. So the first one is that we do 5 into 1. Now, if we've got 1, then we can't get the 5 that we need to make a whole, if that makes sense. So we've got a problem here in that what we need to do is we need to cross this out and we're going to carry this number over into this column to make a larger number. So we're going to cross the 1 out and that 1 transfers in the next column. And essentially, we're just going to leave this column blank. We don't need to put anything in here because nothing happened. There's no reason to hold a place 0 at the start. So that just carries on. Then now we're going to do 5 into 13, which straight away in our heads, hopefully we can see that we can do. So 5 into 13 is going to go twice because we're going to get 5, 10, 15. We can't get to 15. So it goes 2. So 2 lots of 5 is 10. And then essentially we're going to count on. So again, I'll show this visually. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You don't need to do this, but I'm just showing groups of 5. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there isn't another group of 5. So this 3 remains. So we've got to 10 here. 9, 8, 9, 10. So essentially we're just counting on 1, 2, 3. So that 3, that remaining 3 is then carried into the next column. So now my problem at the end is 5 into 35, which is really nice because we know that's part of the 7 times table. So it's the 5 and the 7 times table. 5 into 35 is 7. And again, there's nothing else to do now because we've finished with a whole number. So the answer is 27. So again, nice to see some of the processes that we need to go through to answer questions. Okay, so we've had to cross and then carry to create 13. Then we've got a remainder of 3 carried into the next column, which makes 35, and carried out. Again, nice and neat, nice and presentable. So again, another really simple example to work through. We'll set it up. So we've got 6 being divided into 234. And again, all this question is asking is, how many 6s are in 234? So we're using this strategy to help us work out. So again, the first instance, we've got that problem straight away. We've got 6 into 2. So 6 doesn't go into 2. There's not enough there. So we're going to need to exchange and carry this over. So let's get the red pen. So that's going to be crossed out. And because there's 2 here, we're carrying 2. Now, the next problem is we're going to then do 6 into 23. So again, we need to know our times tables to do this. Now, straight away in my head, I'm thinking, oh, if it was 24, that would have been great. But we haven't got 24. So I'm going to need to go back to the next number in the 6 times table, which is 18. So we've got 6, 12, 18. So 6, 12, 18 is 3 lots. So I'm going to write 3 up here. And then I'm going to count on from 18 to get 18 to 23 to get my remainder. So 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So the remainder is 5. Because if I just wrote that out, I've got to 18. So then 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 is the number that we're working with in the question. So I'm just counting on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is what I will carry into the next column. And then finally, as lots of SATs questions do, we're going to do 6 into 54. And hopefully straight away you're spotting 54 is in the 6 times table. So it's letting us finish off on a really nice, neat number, which is 9. How many 6s are in 54? 9. And that allows us to complete the question. So if we had our answer box here, that 39 would need transferring in, and that would get us the mark. Nice and simple. So this is the first of the SATs examples that we're going to be covering. So I think with this one, we'll just get straight into having a go and laying it out. So we've got 7, and you can see straight away, I've zoomed in on this, but it's quite tight to work with in terms of the space. So we've got 7 into 91. So really sounds simple again, making sure you've got a nice sharp pencil will just help us just lay this out and take up less space. So again, we're going to do 7 into 9 and see what happens. So 7 into 9 is 1 with 2 remainder. So I'm going to carry that 2 over in here. And then I'm doing 7 into 21, which is 3. Job done. That would get transferred into here. And the answer is 13. Now, again, we've done a short division. Some people would probably suggest that, well, if we just know that 7 times 10, for example, is 70, or even 7 times 12 is 84, then one more 7, because that's obviously 10 lots, this is 12 lots, one more lot would be 13. So potentially we could have just spotted that 91 is in the 17 times table and it's just 7 times 13. But again, using this strategy, there's no right or wrong strategy. It's a little bit more time consuming if you don't know those facts, but in doing this, it was quite quick, wasn't it? 7 into 91, 7 into 9 goes 1 with 2 remainder, 7 into 21 is 3. So it literally took 15 seconds. So it's not a huge amount of time being absorbed. So again, pause this video. Each time a SATs question comes up, pause it and have a go yourself. And then obviously you can just press play with me having a go myself. So this one, let's get rid of that highlighting. So we're dividing by 5 into 840. Nice and simple. Let's get on and do it. So we're going to do 5 into 8 to start with. And I know that goes, that's great. So 5 into 8 is 1. So we're going to write 1. And then if I count on from 5 to 8, that's 3, isn't it? There's 3 left over. There's 3 in between 5 and 8. So that's going to get carried. And again, you can see how we need to be quite neat and presentable here. Then we're going to do 5 into 34. So again, 5 times table, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. So we don't get to 35, we get to 30, which is 6 lots. So that's 6. So I got to 30. So what's the remainder to 34? Well, that's 4, isn't it? Because I'm just counting on from 30 to 4. Sorry, 30 to 34. So that's 4. And then I'm doing 5 into 40, which is 8. Perfect. 168. That's just going to drop down and we'd get the mark. Nice and simple. Again, question 15. So again, quite quickly in the SATs paper, the first few you'd be flying through. So you'd be into this sort of question within, 7 or 8 minutes if you're going at a good pace. So let's have a quick go at it. So again, it's utilizing that knowledge. We're going to be working with the 9 times table. So as soon as we see this, I need my 9 times tables facts in my head. That's what's important. So we're dividing by 9 into 747. Really, really simple. Now, this is one of those problems where straight away we need to think about our 7 times table. Our 9 times table. So the problem here is, which makes this a tricky one, is 9 into 7 isn't going to go. I can't get one lot of 9 out of 7. So we're going to need to cross that out. That's going to get crossed out and the 7 gets carried. So we need to do 9 into 74. So again, I'm just thinking of my 9 times table, sorry. So I know 9 times 7 is 63. And I know 9 times 8 is 72, which is just under this. And I'm not going to get another one in. So I know that it's going to be 9 times 8. And that gets me to 72. So I've got 8 lots in here. 9 times 8 is 72. I needed to get to 74. So the difference is 2, isn't it? So we would drop that in here, the remainder, and that leaves me with 9 into 27 quite neatly. And obviously, especially earlier on in the test, these questions, not always, but they tend not to have remainders. They're not trying to catch you out. So quite nicely, this is just dropped into a whole number table fact. So 9 into 27 is 3. So we can write that in, know that that's correct, and move on. So again, one last example. Again, making sure that we've got the 3 times table in our head. And again, this is question 13. The last one was 15. So these questions are coming quite early in the test. So we've got dividing by 3 into 561. So we're going to do 3 into 5. So 3 into 5 goes once. And there's 2 remainder there, isn't there? Because it goes once, that means we've got to 3. The difference between 3 and 5 is 2. So counting on 2, so that goes there. Now we're going to do 3 into 26. Now in my times tables, I'm going through them in my head now. The first one that jumped into my head was 3 times 9 is 27. But I'm not going to get 27, so that's too much. So it must be 3 times 8 is 24. We'll definitely get that. So I've got 8 lots of 3 in 26, because that gets me to 24. And then the difference between 24 and 26 is 2. So that's the remainder that I'm going to carry in the next column. That leaves me with 3 into 21. And straight away, I hear that and think that's the 3 times table. So that's going to work really well. So 3 into 21 is 7. And that's it done, because it's let me finish on this nice table fact, which it normally does. Sometimes we've got this issue here, which is fine, but then we've got a nice table fact to finish on. And that obviously needs to get transferred in. So we've got 187, and that would get us the mark. So we'll rub that out. This is where we finish this week. So I haven't covered remainders at the end, but I've left you with some remainder questions. So these are where you're going to get a remainder at the end. So in all of these examples, just like in these SATs examples that I've shown you, these have ended in whole numbers. All right. So like that last example, it ended up how many 3s are in 21, which is 7. So there's nothing left over at all. Okay. Whereas these ones, there may be something left over at the end. So I just wanted you to have a go at some of those examples. So I'll just run through one of them, for example, with you now, just so that you can see what a remainder looks like, even though the lesson wasn't focused on remainders. So if we did a bus stop, Obviously, ideally, you'd use a ruler, but we did 6 into 435. We do 6 into 4, doesn't go. So I'm going to cross out. 6 into 43. Well, I know 6 times 7 is 42. So that's going to give me 7 with 1 remainder. And then I would do 6 into 15, which is 2. Which that gets me to 12, doesn't it? The difference between 12 and 15 is 3, isn't it? Because I would go 13, 14, 15. So my answer would be remainder 3. So the overall answer would be 72, because there's nothing more we can do there. 72, remainder 3. Okay? So when we're talking about working with a remainder, it's just what's left at the end. So after we've done the final calculation, what remains? And sometimes it will always be less than what you're dividing by. So in this instance, it's going to be remainder 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, don't worry yourselves too much about them, but it's just a good example to have a go at them, and you will see those work through at the end. So again, short division, very much about presentation. Have a go at these no remainder ones. The majority of the SATs ones are no remainders. Every example that we did here that I've found in the SATs papers was a no remainder. That doesn't mean to say that you won't, or it isn't important that you can do them with a remainder as well. So these are worth having a go just for practice, but in the most instances, you will get no remainders.
And that is short division covered. Hopefully, and I always say hopefully quite a lot, hopefully you found that relatively straightforward, because as I've said, throughout your teaching through primary school, you should have found that you've been taught short division a lot. Okay, so none of the content that I've covered in that video should be brand new and you'd be thinking, wow, I've never seen this before. You should be fairly confident with this, knowing that I've been taught this in year 3, year 4, year 5, and year 6 is really just mopping up this. And in the SATs papers, it's deciding whether to use your known facts to solve the division problems or whether you need to dive into a short division. Now, the chances are there's probably only going to be 1, maybe 2 short divisions. There'll definitely be 2 long divisions, but then there will be other divisions where you're needing to use your known fact. As I said at the start, using questions like, for example, 240 divided by 4. Well, essentially, we know that 24 divided by 4 is 6, so 240 divided by 4 must be 60. So we can use those known facts, as I've said before. And there is another video in one of the previous videos that I'll try and put in a link, all about known facts, which helps you do that as well. So short division should be a really, really straightforward process now of us laying things out effectively. And remember, the main thing with short division is all about our presentation, making sure that we lay the question out effectively, and when we're writing the digits in the boxes, leaving enough space, knowing that we're going to have to adjust across some of the question potentially. So that is one of the key parts, is our presentation. We won't get any points for presentation or marks, but that presentation will maybe help us gain a mark by not making an error when we're doing the question. So short division, job done. Next week we're moving on those big frustrations for everybody, which is long division. Okay, and I'm going to take you through 2 clear strategies, 2 really effective strategies to carry out long division in a really quick and straightforward manner, and one that doesn't require much effort. Okay, so definitely check out next week's videos, and to make sure that you do that, make sure you click subscribe. It's going to be around here somewhere now, to make sure that you get those notifications of when the short division video comes out. So that's this week's video in terms of 16 weeks of SATs. Well done for getting stuck into it, and I'll see you all next week.